Good morning, this is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Wednesday, August 21st, 2024. The fire potential impacts for the next few days are shown here. We have some significant impacts coming to the Great Basin, most notably over the next few days. We have a lot of wind coming. It's been windy already, and we have more wind coming. So on today, winds are a little bit lighter, but still present over Idaho and along the Sierra front, but winds are stronger with gusts 35 to 45 miles an hour or so over southern Nevada and into portions of western Utah and up into western Wyoming today. And we have some lingering showers and thunderstorms in central and eastern Utah, but today's the lightest day for storms in Utah. Tomorrow, winds really pick up across the central portions of the Great Basin along the Sierra front, and we see more widespread winds across Idaho and northern Nevada. And then Friday is really the strongest day for winds across the Great Basin. We have winds gust to maybe 50 miles an hour, 55 miles an hour possible across portions of the central Great Basin. Windy everywhere across the western and central half of the Great Basin. And then we have continued showers and thunderstorms over Utah and up into eastern Idaho, western Wyoming. Those begin on Thursday. Yesterday was a fairly quiet day for most of the Great Basin, thunderstorm-wise. Idaho and Nevada were clear, and much of western Utah was clear, but we did see some thunderstorms and some showers across mainly eastern, southeastern Utah yesterday. Initial attack is shown here for yesterday. We had 13 new fires for just under 2,000 acres and over 10,000 acres on our large fire growth due to the dry, hot, and windy conditions across the north. Our ERCs are still showing some lower values across Utah and up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Those values will be increasing across much of the western portions of Utah here under the dry, windy air mass that's moving in. But we do have some really high values over Nevada and up into western Idaho where things have been dry and breezy for a few days already. This morning satellite imagery continues to show the two main weather features that we're looking at, which is a high pressure to our south and east, allowing moisture to move up into Utah, and that will really begin to increase again tomorrow. And then this area of low pressure over the Pacific Northwest that continues to bring gusty winds and will eventually actually track across the Great Basin, the northern portions of the Great Basin, and bring some precipitation to Idaho, although maybe not as much as we would like. Smoke still is showing here for this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon. Most of the smoke moving into the Great Basin is from Great Basin fires, but there is some smoke moving in from this fire here in Southern California. But given the southerly flow, most of the smoke is moving north through the Great Basin and into geographic areas to our north. Okay, so the situation for this afternoon, we have high risk issued for eastern Idaho and western Wyoming, and then a few PSAs in southeast Nevada for those gusty winds today. Closer look at the winds shown here, pretty windy over eastern Idaho and western Wyoming with gusts up to 40-45 miles an hour possible in some of these leeward slopes here in western Wyoming. And then in Utah, western and southwest Utah, those gusts will be around 30 to 35 miles an hour or so, and pretty breezy in southern Nevada as well. In eastern Utah, these winds represent gusty outflows from the thunderstorms that will develop there again today. And then minimum relative humidities are very low across Nevada and western Utah in the single digits with those dry southerly winds, southwesterly winds. And then across the central Idaho mountains, still pretty dry up there as well, with minimum relative humidities in the low 20s and upper teens. Maximum temps for today are maybe just a few degrees below climatological normals across the central Idaho mountains, but elsewhere pretty seasonable with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. And then the 24-hour precip totals here on the right just showing that we're expecting another round of showers and thunderstorms mainly over eastern Utah. And then maybe a stray storm or two up here in the central Idaho mountains. On Thursday, the low pressure system continues to strengthen right off the Pacific coast and starts to move a little bit further southward. We'll begin to see winds increasing over the Great Basin, especially over Nevada and up into central and eastern Idaho on Thursday. And then we'll also see moisture returning to points further north in Utah. So those winds again, very strong over southern Nevada and into western Utah with gusts 35, 40, 45 miles an hour possible, and breezy across the north. Maybe slightly lighter winds in western Wyoming on Thursday, but still quite a few pockets of gusty winds out there. And then precipitation on Thursday expected to increase a little bit further west into southwest Utah and the Arizona Strip, and then a little bit further north into the northern Utah mountains as well. Could see a storm or two over western Wyoming on Thursday. Friday's where we see some major changes start to happen as this low begins to move further south and eastward. So we have really strong winds across most of the Great Basin on Friday. We have high risk issued for many of our PSAs over Nevada, Idaho, and into western Utah. All right, here's our wind for Friday. Gusts, some of the strongest gusts we've seen so far this year. Gusts up to 45, 50, 55 miles an hour. We have some browns in here in western Utah that are tracking, above 55 miles an hour possibly on Friday. So a very windy day for eastern Nevada and into western Utah. We still have moisture in place over Utah, however, so relative humidities will be a little bit higher with some of these winds, but particularly far western Utah and eastern Nevada will be right on the fringe of that dry air with these strong winds. And then we'll see moisture moving up into eastern Idaho and western Wyoming on Friday, accompanied by strong winds. So definitely a possibility for initial attack increasing where we see thunderstorms and gusty winds. Winds aren't quite as strong further west where we have some of our larger fires on Friday, or northwest Nevada, but very windy on Friday. Okay, 3-day precip totals are showing that precipitation moving back up into Utah, really starting Thursday, Friday. Some moisture moving up into western Wyoming on Friday as well. And then we'll start to see some cloud cover moving into northwest Nevada and into the central Idaho mountains on Friday, with the precip starting late on Friday, but more earnestly on Saturday. Okay, so let's talk about Saturday. That trough begins to move further eastward, tracking across the Great Basin. We'll see precipitation mainly over far northwest Nevada and into the west central Idaho mountains. Right now it's looking like most of eastern Nevada won't see too much precipitation, but we'll still see very gusty winds in eastern Utah and up into western Wyoming on Saturday, with the precip limited to Idaho and northwest Nevada. Okay, that low quickly moves off to the east, and on Sunday we'll see cool temperatures. This low is bringing a significant drop in temperatures to the entire region, and we'll see those cool temperatures Saturday into Sunday, but the showers should decrease by Sunday. So taking a look at the maximum temperatures between Thursday and Saturday. So tomorrow, very warm across the north, highs in the low 90s near Boise. By Saturday, they're dropping down to 70. So a very quick drop in temperatures as that low tracks across the Great Basin for the weekend. On Monday, a dry pattern sets up pretty much for the entire Great Basin. Some westerly flow further north along the Canadian border, but generally lighter winds and drier conditions across the Great Basin heading into the first part of next week, and that continues into Tuesday with generally dry conditions and for the most part lighter winds. The strongest winds will be further to our north. 7-day precip totals are shown here. Here's what we're looking for in that Saturday time frame as that low tracks across the Great Basin. So we do have a good chance of a wetting rain across the north central Idaho mountains. Some of our large fires will get some precipitation, and some of them may possibly just get a sprinkle and a drop in temperatures. So we're hoping for the best there. The extended forecast calls for above normal temperatures for most of the country, including the Great Basin, and then above normal chances for precip to mainly Utah, but showing a trend for the entire Great Basin. So we'll keep an eye on that. And that concludes today's fire potential briefing. Please check back tomorrow for the latest updates.